Welcome back to the Crochet Crowd as well as my friends over at yarnspirations.com. Today's the Argyle Plaid Crochet Pillow. So my last video I just filmed was actually a hat and it looked like this. And I wondered on Yarn Inspirations, is there any more kind of like plaid styles? So I looked and I found this wonderful pattern. So this is a really neat concept. I was like thinking, how really is it done? And so, you know, curiosity really catches me and I really wanted to dig into this one. So today we're going to be using our Bernat Softy Chunky Tweeds. Just for full disclaimer, I use Bernat Softy Chunky Twist. So I use two different colors, and the white I actually use regular Softy Chunky yarn, the white, in order to make that happen. I feel the white is what really sets this apart from all the rest. I also kind of deviated a little bit from the pattern in the sense that my pillow face does not look like this. I actually ended it a little bit early, therefore the stripes are actually kind of askew, and I think for this particular concept I think it looks pretty amazing, but you have to decide what works for you. So here is my pillow face. I actually left one of the strands out so that you can see the difference of it dragging through. And so after you get the face done, then you just have to string through in the front loops that are here the other strands that go through. So you just cut it a certain length and you make sure there's two strands on your tapestry needle, and you literally just pick up and go underneath each of the front loops. I actually thought it was a lot harder in theory, but in actual fact in person it was actually not hard at all. And so where the colors intersect, you can see that you get a nice big beautiful white spot here, but it kind of like dots out here when there's actually the red coming through here, but when it hits the red it solids up. So this is what it looks like on the back side. So the front side will look very close to this, but it will have the front loops exposed that you can use then for your strands. So I really think it's a kind of a neat concept. Now the edging here, I know it's a pillow and I'm lazy. So what I decided to do is that I took two strands that are the ones that are feeding through and I tied them like this. And when I go to put the two faces together and I single crochet around this, I am going to tuck that so it's inside the pillow so you don't ever see it. Technically what you could have done is that you could have just woven it into the back section here, but there's a lot of strands and I'm kind of lazy, so I'm not even gonna deny that for you today. So this is working in a corner to corner concept. So when we go to work on this one here, is that I actually put a strand right here in the center here. So when you look at it from this perspective, when we go to do it, it's going like this. And then when we run these strands in the other direction, I did it in a way that I literally put it like this and I started, so I put a stitch marker here and then I just started in picking them up, and then you can tell easily if you're actually gonna skip one by accident, so I did that. Also what you can tell is if you look carefully at this, if you accidentally skip one of the loops it might be really noticeable, but what I would do at the end is that when I did this I didn't tie all these until the very end, so I had all the strands hanging out. Therefore if I saw anything I could just pull it out and then just refeed it through to make sure that I catch it in the right area too. So let me show you how this is growing and then how it decreases, and then I'll show you how this is woven in, and this is kind of a neat concept today. And before we begin today, you're gonna notice that the stripe pattern starts on page number 1 and goes to page number 2. And you see all these and you can see that I checked it off on the way. So this stripe pattern is when you're going to crochet it like this, and you're just gonna capture it up and it's just gonna continue and do a great job. The wonderful thing about this, when I did it, I should share this with information. Do you see that there's a long strand right here? See that? So let me turn it over. Do you see that there's long strands? I didn't cut my yarn at all. I decided that I'm lazy and it's inside the pillow anyway, but I just carried it over and started, so I don't have any cut strands the entire duration of this whole thing. So it's just a matter of carrying up. So if you look carefully you'll see that the blues and the whites were all carried up in order to do that. So that's a judgment call that you can make if you're comfortable with that as well. And again on the outside, once you have these kind of strands you just tuck them on the inside of the pillow and they're good to go. I really like this particular concept. If you're ever to do a blanket, then what I would do is take my time and weave in the ends and do all that, but because it's a pillow you can hide things pretty easily. Okay, so let's grab our 8mm size L crochet hook, and I'm gonna be using Bernat Softy Chunky Twist today in order to demonstrate for you today. The striping is on the pattern, so I'm gonna leave that in your hands to be able to follow that through thing across because it's really quite easy. But I would recommend that you get a pencil, maybe print it out, or a piece of paper, look at it on screen and just check off the amount of rows that you're about to do. So when we go to start off the first one, it says work 8 rows. So when you start off the first one with the first color A, which happens to be this color, this is what I'm gonna do. So let's begin. It's really super easy. So you're just gonna chain 2 to begin and start row number 1. Row number 1 is going second chain from the hook, just get in the back loop only and place in 2 single crochets, 1 and 2. Then row number 2 is that you're just gonna turn your work and chain 1. Now row number 2, it states in the pattern, and this is what you gotta watch out for, there is a front side and a back side to this thing. So I'm just moving my sheets off to the side here. In row number 2 it says in the front loop only. So if you're new to crochet, there's always 2 loops. Okay, so the first loop that's closest to you is the front loop and the other one furthest is the back loop. So row number 2 we're establishing the front side now and the back side by doing this. So it says 2 crochet single crochets in the front loop only. So 1 and 2, and in the next stitch same thing, front loop only, 1 and 2. This means now when you go to turn it around as you begin row number 3, the front loop is now exposed and it's right there. So now in row number 3 we're gonna chain up 1. So here's the growth. You're gonna chain up 1, and in the first one, because we're looking at the front side of the project now, and it'll become more obvious as you gets bigger, you're gonna go into the back loop only of the first stitch and put in 2 single crochets to start. So there's your growth, and then you single crochet across in the back loop only until you get to the very last one, and then you put 2 into the same one in the back loop. So when you're looking at the good side, you want the back to play in the back loops, and when you're looking at the back side, then you go into the front loops. So to start the next row, so just chain up 1. This time it's in the front loops. So if you can remember, it's just every other one is either in the back loops or it's in the front loops. Do 2 in the first one, and then it's 1 into each one of them except for when you get to the very end. So if you want to customize your pillow, if you don't want something so big, you just don't make your project so big, right? So you're working corner to corner. So 2 into the last. You then turn your work, and so you can see more front loops are exposed. So turn your work, chain up 1. Because you're looking at the good side, it's gonna be in the back loop then across. So 2 in the first one, and then 1 into each one of them until the very last one, and then the last one you'll have 2. So the only thing that you really need to pay attention to is the number of rows for the coloring, because the coloring is what sets it apart and what makes it amazing. So you could absolutely do a whole project in the same color just like this and weave in some yarn just like what we're about to do. You can do that too. You are the creator and the artist. So that's the front side. So when you go to turn, chain 1 and then just go in the front loop only because you're looking at the back. Now I told you that when you change colors, we should do a color change at the end of this row. So let me show you how to do that. So when I go to change colors, I don't want to trim any of my yarn off because it's a pillow. But if you want to do that, then you can do that as well. So that you decide what is going to work for you. So in the last one, you want to put 2 into the front loop only because you're looking at the back side. So do the first one, and then the second one, just start it but don't finish it, and just grab up a loop of the next color that you want to play with and pull through. Now just let this red one just hang off to the side and then begin again. So chain up 1. You can see on the front side, you can see the front loops. So then that means that you're gonna, for this one, so because you're starting a new strand, I would make sure that you capture that underneath starting in the back loop only. So the one thing I did realize is that all of the rows are in even numbers. That means that the rows, when they go to start colors, they're always gonna be starting on the same side, so therefore you can carry up your yarn on the one side. So going across then with this color, so 2 into the very end. So most of them have 2 rows. So you put 2, turn it around, chain up 1. You're looking at the back side because you can't see any front loops, and so you will stay in the front loop because you're on the back side. So I'm gonna switch back to the red when I get back to the other side, just to prove a point. So in the last one you're gonna do the first one, do the second. So if you had to do a color change, just drop the blue, pick up the red, and finish it with the red, and then turn your work. So you just wanna make sure these strands don't get tangled up with each other. Good. And then you start with the red again, and then when you put the pillow face together you can just put this straggler in behind and nobody will ever see it. So you're looking at the good side, so therefore you gotta go to the back loops only. So what I'm gonna do then is that I'm gonna show you how to decrease at the end of this row. So you'll put 2 into the very end, and then I'll meet you there in a second and I'll show you how to decrease to get back to being smaller once again. So I'm just coming up to the other side. So let's just say our pillow is this size. When you lay it over, you want it to have a bit of stretch so that it contours to the pillow. So if you want to change the size of your pillow you can do that. It has instructions for a 20-inch pillow, but not all of us have 20 inches. So let's turn our work and begin to do the decrease. So to do the decrease you're looking at the back side of the project first. So you're just gonna chain up 1. So that means that you'll stay in the front loops only. So you go in the front loop, yarn over, pull through, go to the second one, yarn over, pull through. You have 3 loops, pull through all 3, and that just became 2 into 1. So then you continue then as you know it. So just 1 single crochet in each here, the front loops, because you're looking at the back. And what you're paying attention to is the last 2 stitches to bring them together as one. So even if you had a decrease of coloring you would still do this as well. So let's just say for the record the last 2 are going to come together. So let's do that. So 1 and 2 are together. But if you had to change the color, so let's just put in white for a couple rows. So if I wanted white here I would pull in the white to finish that one, turn my work, and then begin the white. So I'm just gonna do 2 rows of white. So I want to continue to decrease, so just chain up 1, and this time because you're looking at the front side of the project you see the loops hopefully. Then you can go into the back loop only and just collect the first 2 and then yarning over, pulling all through 3 loops, and 2 stitches just became 1. You can continue to bury in new yarn underneath, and so you're just looking for the final 2 stitches to bring together for a 2 together by the time you get to the other side. So just cover up over top of that yarn strand just enough so that it gets stuck underneath, and therefore it's out of sight out of mind, and you can easily trim that when you're ready. So what really sets these things apart is the lighter colors to cross over to the darker color. It looks quite amazing. So you want to identify the final 2 stitches which you see there. So you're gonna put the 2 together. So pull in, go to the next one, pull in, and then pull together. Turn your work. You're on the back side now of the project, so therefore you're gonna work on the front loops. Put the first 2 together, and then continue along, and then put the last 2 together. So you're just gonna continue to decrease. I would just follow the color scheme that it states on the pattern. It's just it'll turn out really quite lovely, but you can do anything that you want. I would do a minimum of at least 2 rows per color if you're gonna do that, just to be consistent, and you can do a whole blanket like this too. It's a big hook, it's thick yarn, it's quite amazing. So then you put the last 2 together, and I'm gonna change the color again, and I'm going to change it to blue. So even though I've just turned the corner here I can still just drag that blue all the way over, and when I pull it through the first time I want to make sure that there's a bit of give on it so that it will stay underneath, and then turn my work and continue with the blue. Chain up 1 and then put the first 2 together. And because it's the front side of the project I can see the loops, you want to stay in the back loop only. So just continue to decrease until you get back to 1 spot or 1 stitch at the very end, and I will see you there, and then I'll show you how to do the running of the strands across. So when you get to the very end you're just gonna be left with 2 stitches, so just maintaining it, so chain up 1 and then put the final 2 together, and then you're done. So at this time you can see what it kinda looks like there, and I'm just gonna take my scissors and cut that yarn out, and you can also cut the other strands. What I did notice is that I looked ahead in the pattern and I realized that I didn't need white beyond this point, so I cut it out early. Therefore I could cut it out earlier and then secure it later. So any of these strands that I carried up I can just tuck in behind and you will end up with a shape that matches your pillow pretty carefully. And so you will notice that when you do the striping on this, the striping is not like left equals right. It actually looks really amazing once it's done, but the trick is the white to make sure that it gets in there nicely. So let's take a look at where we are in this particular project and see what we're gonna be doing next as we're gonna then start stranding through the other strands. So when we've been crocheting it like this and going up. So it's telling you then to turn the project so that you can see it from an easier perspective. I found for myself it was easier that if I turn it like this. And what I'm looking for is that I'm looking for the front loops. So when you see these, that's a front loop there and a front loop there and a there and there. And so you can see the front loops are kind of matching. So you can see that the next one, if I was to do the front loops, is that you can see that it's right directly beside it. So every front loop gets something. I'd recommend a straight hook or a straight needle. So you can see that these are what it would be. So I found with myself is that because I changed the size that my striping was a little off, but because of this kind of concept it looks pretty cool. So what we have to do is that you can follow the striping pattern that it suggests on the pattern. It works out really well, but you have to double strand everything. So what I did is that I looked at it and I made sure that I have extra. So let me back you out a little bit here. So in this particular case I made sure I had extra on both sides, but you have to double strand it. So once I got to the side I wanted, I just then pinched it and then I pulled so that I end up having that much. Now sometimes it says that it wants 8 rows. So then what I would do then is then take this strand coming from the ball and just pull it through, and right when the other strand runs out, that's it. Cut it. And then if you need another strand of that same thing, just put it on and pull, and eventually you end up with all the same size. You gotta watch it though, because as it gets bigger you need more yarn. So you gotta just do piece by piece. I wouldn't cut anything in advance in the sense of doing the whole cutting of everything now. I'd work on it piece by piece. So what we have to do is that we have to start right on the one section here. So let's begin to do that. So I would use a straight needle and just feed the yarn strand into the needle and make sure that it's folded directly in half at the needle. Okay, I'm not putting in any ties on the one side. And all I'm just gonna do is that I'm gonna start on the very first ones here. So starting in the front loops only. So what I decided to do is favor the back side so that I have it so that I'm just pushing these out of the way and coming from the back and then capturing the first loops that you run into. In this case it's gonna be straight down here. So you see that there's 3 loops the first time if you look at the diagram. And so you're just gonna pull through and you want it to rest and relax. So you don't want it to change the shape of anything. And once you're satisfied with it, just cut the yarn so to release your needle. To do the second one, same thing. And you're just gonna work your way all the way across your loops doing the same thing. And when it crosses over other colors it looks amazing. So we're gonna move on to the next one up here. So coming on here and then capturing the first loop, and look where it's already captured before. You can hear me concentrating, I'm sure. So just fold any yarn strands in behind. And I would go in little sections. So this was a smaller section and then just feed it down so that it ends up hitting the back side of the project and let it relax. And then cut. So when the color is the same and it crosses over the same color, then it becomes invisible, and then when it crosses over a color that is contrasting, it will show. And that's what's really neat about it, right? So as you're doing this you can see more and more of your work coming into play. So I think we should review on how we're going to get rid of these yarn tails. You want to leave them long enough so you can at least put them onto a tapestry needle if you wanted to. But in my case what I did is that I just tied two strands together. So let's just say I did that. So I tied two strands together that were in a row, and I just did a knot. And when I did the knot, I didn't do it too tightly. I just did it enough that it will capture that if I have to take out the knot, I can. So as I did it, I looked at the pillow after it was done, and I realized that I'd missed one of the loops. So because I was loosely done at the time, I was able to undo it and then refeed it through and capture it again. It's kind of impossible to fix unless you do it that way. You would have to cut it out otherwise and then have to restring new yarn. So you're gonna continue to do that. But if you wanna weave in your ends, how you do it is that you will turn it over to the back side. I would probably do one at a time just because that's what I would do. I find weaving too much stuff through is a little bit of a pain. So all I'm just gonna do is stay on the back side of the project, so it'll be obvious on the back side, because chances are you're gonna weave it through a color that is not the same color as the front side, because these are the stripes. So you just wanna go back and forth twice, and then you can safely cut. Therefore you'll have no tails at all. So just taking each one, and so it'll take a bit of time, but it'll look really good either way, right? And so you will continue then. So you may want to do this as you go, but just verify that you have woven in everything that you needed to at the time. So therefore you can get rid of all those tails and then have a cleaner surface like this instead of something so hairy canary. So let's review on how to put this thing together, because it's just one round of single crochet going all the way around. So if you found yourself that this was too much work to do the back side, you can always do the back side just like this. You could do one color if you wanted to, depending on which yarn you have left. But once you're ready to go, and then you can get your pillow form. So you want to do at least put two sides together before, or three sides together before putting the pillow in and then doing the final. Then what you have to just do is that once they match each other, just turn them upside down. So turn the bottom one upside down so that the good side is facing down, and then you turn this one here so it's facing up, the good side's facing up. And all you're just going to do is then just match the stitching. So when you go to match, all you're just going to do is, and I keep saying all, you just keep doing, and I don't know why I'm doing that. So here we're going to go, and we just want to attach no sewing at all, so just going to the outside, and you want to go across into the corner as close to the corner as that you can see it. And when you go to do this, you want to flip all these tails and everything to the inside of the project. So you're just gonna just attach, and in the corners there'll be 3 single crochets. So just attach, chain 1, and then put 3 single crochets in the corner, and tuck in those tails as you go. So they'll be inside the work. So 1, 2, and 3. So that helps you turn your corner. Then you're just gonna equally space 1 single crochet in each of the stitches going across. So just going in, making sure the tails are tucked in, and continuing along so that you can hide things. So when you get to the next corner, all you can just do at that particular point is just single crochet 3 times to turn, and then continuing to work along the next surface. Because you have gone in a diagonal, there is really no such thing as any stitches aligning, but because it's single crochet, then each one of these rows equals a single crochet. So there's essentially 2 single crochets per a section like that. So that's 2 rows, so there's 2 single crochets. So just tuck in your ends and then just crochet right over top of them so the ends are stuck in place. So on the 4th and final round section, all you're just gonna do is slip in the pillow, and then you're just gonna single crochet it shut with the pillow permanently inside, and it will be looking like that. So you can see that the tails are all being tucked inside. You never see them, and it's a great way to do it. So it's up to you on how you want to tackle this kind of monster. And until next time, have a good one, and we hope that you've enjoyed this and you learned some tips along the way. I really am compelled to do a blanket using this concept. I think it's pretty neat. Have a good one. We hope to see you again. Bye bye.